Hi there, and welcome to this week's episode of Canadian Profits TV. My name's Dave Dubeau, and I'm your host. And this week, for our business breakthrough, I'm going to be talking about pricing strategies for your business. For our real estate tips, I'm going to be sharing a question that came in to me from a reporter about my number one suggestion for people trying to sell their homes in a recessionary market. And for our Mindset Minute, we're going to visit again our good friend Big Bob Molly and talk a little bit about one of his 3 keys to maximum performance. Stay tuned. All right, so for today's business breakthrough, I want to talk about a book that I'm just about finished reading. Here we are, almost all the way through, and this is No BS Price Strategy. The ultimate no-holds-barred, kick-butt, take-no-prisoners guide to profits, power, and prosperity. And you thought my headlines and titles were long. Well, this is by my mentor, Dan Kennedy, with his guest writer, Jason Mars. Just met Jason. I already know Dan. Phenomenal book. So this talks about the price strategy that most small business owners and entrepreneurs take. There's a few different ones. One of them is WAG, which is Wild Ass Guest. Been there, done that one. Other ones are industry norms, cost plus pricing, those sort of things. And the biggest challenge with that, especially with the Wild Ass Guest, is you really are leaving a lot of profit on the table. The big picture you should be thinking about is maximizing your profits. Now that seems to make sense, that seems logical, but so few of us in business really do this, really focus on maximizing our profits and really thinking about that. A lot of people are thinking about volume instead of profitability. They think about doing more and more business without really looking at how does that affect the bottom line. So what Kennedy and Mars suggest is that we should be looking at maximizing profits, and instead of going after the big market and trying to be everything to everybody, focusing in and doing what they call skimming. And that means going for the absolute best clients in your market, your best customers, the folks who are willing to pay the highest price to get what they value the most. And here's where the mindset comes in. It's not about the price. Most people at that level are not concerned about the price so much, they're concerned about the value that you deliver. And value can be measured in many different ways. It's not all about how much something costs. It's about how exclusive it is, what the service is like, what the prestige is around doing business with that company. If that weren't the case, I'll prove to you that is the case. If it wasn't the case, we'd all be driving Yugo vehicles, wouldn't we? Those would be the cheapest things available, but that's not what it is. You've got everything from Yugos. I don't even know if Yugos exist anymore. Yugos all the way up to Rolls-Royce and far beyond. So why would one person buy a Rolls-Royce, another person buy a Yugo, when they're both vehicles, they have 4 wheels, they drive, they get you from point A to point B. There are many different reasons that somebody would be willing to spend a heck of a lot more money for the same class of product, service, or what have you, as another person would for the lower level. So again, kind of a roundabout way, they're talking about going for the top of the market and charging premium prices. I remember when I did this with my business in Costa Rica, my language training business, and overnight just revolutionized the business. Went from having to do a lot of volume because my margins were so low to increasing my margins, doubled my price overnight, had fewer customers, which was actually far better because I was making far more money from those customers. They were happier, they were better, they're easier to deal with than the large unwashed masses, so to speak, at the bottom of the level. So that's my idea for you. Focus on your profits and forget industry norms and wild ass guesses. That's your business breakthrough. All right, for this week's real estate tips, I want to talk to you about a question that came in to me just recently by email from a reporter. And this reporter said, Dave, you're a real estate expert here in Canada. What would be your number one piece of advice for a homeowner trying to sell their home in a recessionary economy? So I'm not sure if this reporter is from the States or not, didn't get that much information from them. But let's talk about, let's say, a down market. Because in Canada, we aren't suffering the same kind of real estate recession that they have in the States, but there are areas with down markets or flat markets. My answer is simple. It gets back to the easier you make it for somebody to buy, the easier and the higher price you can get for the home. So there are many different ways to do that. That could be offering terms or financing. So as a home seller, if you offer owner financing to sell your home, that's going to be much, much more attractive to a wider range of people than just selling the home traditionally. Doesn't mean you have to carry the whole mortgage. Could mean that you just carry a small second mortgage on the property to help the buyer get into it. That way you don't have to reduce the price, you don't have to negotiate on price, you can get full value, and you're just taking a little bit as a second mortgage. Another strategy would be to be willing to take trades as partial payment for the property. So what the heck? Why reduce the price if you take a trade instead? Maybe you get a mobile home, or maybe you get an RV, a vehicle, stocks, bonds, gold, silver, what have you. Be willing to be a bit of a horse trader, and again, you're going to broaden the market, create more heat, more interest in your property, and be able to sell it for full price. Or, one of my favorite strategies is do a rent to own on the property, which is another way of kind of offering financing. Get your buyer in there and paying in their down payment in installments, gets you full price for the property 2 or 3 years down the road, gets you a big chunk of change up front, gets you much higher than average rents, and gets you a phenomenal tenant in the meanwhile that's going to cause you very few to no headaches. So there are 3 quick tips on how to get full price, maximum price for your home in a recessionary or a low market economy situation. That's your real estate tip for this week. Okay, so here we are with our Mindset Minute, and today I want to talk again about my good friend, Big Bob Molly. You should see a picture of him right here. Here's his new book, his first book, Get Comfortable Being Uncomfortable. So just the other day, I actually did an interview with Bob. Always a lot of fun. I always really enjoy speaking with Bob. We were talking about his 3 spiritual keys to success and maximum performance. And this is kind of an Eastern spiritual type thing. You'd look at Bob, you wouldn't think he's that kind of guy, but he's a very open-minded individual. And Bob's 3 things are, first of all, relationships, second of all, energy, and third, harmony. Today we're going to talk about the first one, which is relationships, and over the next couple of weeks I'll touch on the other 2 as well. So when it comes to relationships, what Bob says, and I have learned the hard way, it really is all about who you know. I used to think, it's kind of like the movies. You could go out, be the Lone Ranger, do it on your own, didn't need anybody else. And the truth of the matter is you can't. All of the most successful people who I know, and I'm fortunate I know a lot of very successful people, they have a team, they work with a team, they work with other people, they use other people's expertise, they know and they're good friends with a wide variety of different people. So Bob's big concept there is the relationship. So when Bob wants to learn something new, his strategy is rob and do. He finds whoever's the best in that field, whoever's the most successful at what it is he wants to learn about. He goes, he meets that person, he starts a relationship with them, and he learns from them. Very, very smart. So that's the first one of Bob's 3 keys, 3 spiritual keys to maximum performance. All right, thanks a lot for tuning in to this week's episode of Canadian Profits TV, which is brought to you by this week's $1 deal, which you can check out on the banner to the right. And this week, it's the 5 biggest marketing mistakes most Canadian small business owners and entrepreneurs make. An interview I did a while ago with my good friend and marketing expert, Canadian marketing expert, Brandon Rowe. So check out all about it with the banner to the right. Thanks a lot. Stay tuned for next week where we've got some phenomenal business tips, real estate tips, and mindset minute for you as well. Take care. Talk to you next week.